What the heck is Formula One?
Pole position, strategy,
yachts and parties,
safety car, Ferrari.
beautiful corners.
Oh, right, okay. There's a car in front of you. Try and overtake it.
Oh, I hate you so much.
Hello, you fools. Welcome back to another Formula Fools podcast. I'm David, your appointed expert, and with me is Skin, who is our local fool.
Hello.
Hello, Skin.
Hey.
How you going?
Good. Yeah, no complaints.
Good. How did you find our first early morning, late night race of the year?
Fine. I actually watched it, which was I was never planning on doing it. I thought for sure I'd miss any sort of late night ones over here, but I certainly didn't watch it live, I must admit. But my 3.5-month-old daughter forgot how to sleep through the night last night and woke me up at 4 a.m.
Yep.
And I wasn't getting back to sleep, so I thought I might as well chuck the replay on.
Oh, Skin, look at you go. You're just a guru.
Oh, no.
Absolute guru.
No. The things I do for this show, Dave, honestly.
Yeah, waking up at 4 a.m. for your daughter. Sorry, I mean the show. Yeah, the show.
How do you find it?
Yeah, terrible. I didn't get back to bed. I didn't get back in bed until 3 a.m. And I think I was up until about 4:30. Just could not get back to sleep.
Right,
So,
just too excited about F1.
yes, that's what it was. Definitely wasn't the cup of coffee that I had right before the race started. That was a bad idea.
Okay.
From pit lane antics to racing riddles, we're here to make you laugh and question your sanity. Sit back, buckle up. It's time for Formula Fools. Okay.
Wow, we got so off track, I forgot your intro on the podcast.
Yeah, I also got the intro perfect.
Nice.
I know. Don't need to derail it anymore. We just did, but that's fine. We're going to go into a hot lap recap with Ryan Smith.
The race is over. It's that time in the show for the hot lap recap. Let's go. The race is over. It's that time in the show for the hot lap recap. Let's go.
Just the 16-second one for you this week, Skin. And obviously then
Thank you.
Ryan's hot lap recap.
Yeah. At like a minute 30, right?
What?
The hot lap recap, the time it takes for the fastest lap.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome back to the Hot Lap Recap, where I blitz through the Bahrain Grand Prix and a bit of an added bonus this week. Yeah, we've got some Formula One news for you as well. I'm your race reporter, Ryan, flying solo this week in the booth, leaving Skin and Dave back in the studio to keep lowering the resale value of that Aston jacket with every appearance it makes on air. Right. Come on, let's get into it, okay? Lights out, and Oscar Piastri launching off pole like he's late for a barbecue. The Aussie was untouchable, really. Cool as a cucumber in a fridge in the Arctic, keeping George Russell's Mercedes at arm's length. Russell was wrestling a car that decided really to cosplay as a bit of a dodgy laptop, randomly rebooting systems mid-lap. Brake-by-wire issues, apparently. That's one for you to quiz Dave about, I think, Skin. His energy recovery was sulking as well. And he accidentally flicked the DRS once as well. Because, buttons are tricky when your car's having a bit of a meltdown. The stewards, they called it a whoopsie moment, since he did slow down afterwards to give back the half second that he gained. Now, Lando Norris, he was on a bit of a mission, wasn't he, from 6th, despite screwing up his grid position like he misread the lines at a shop. A 5-second penalty for a false start is what was given to him, but he still managed to claw back to 3rd, passing Ferrari's Charles Leclerc with 8 laps to go. And he nearly nicked 2nd as well, but he got cocky on the final lap, half lunged at turn 1, but then fluffed it, and it left him just too far back. He was gutted as well, actually, afterwards. He called it a bit of a messy race, and he moaned about missing that opportunity for a McLaren 1-2, which is what Dave's been talking about, McLaren making these mistakes. He seems quite depressed to say he's got the fastest car on the grid, doesn't he? Still, McLaren's significant Bahraini shareholders must have been chuffed. It was their first home win. Championship-wise, though, this means that Norris leads Piastri by 3 points, with Verstappen grumpily back 8 points back in 3rd. Now, Red Bull this weekend, they had the pace of a learner driver on the dual carriageway. They 2 slow pit stops, one from a dodgy traffic light system, and another with a stuck wheel. Max overtook Alpine's Pierre Gasly on the last lap for 6, which is probably his only highlight of the race. And Ferrari, in the end, weren't much better either. Leclerc grabbed 4th after a switch tyre strategy. starting on mediums while the others went soft. Alonso, he went soft too, but that's just because of his age. And for Leclerc, this gave him a bit of an edge mid-race, not Alonso being soft, but the tyres, because a safety car on lap 32 for track debris shuffled things up, and then Norris bounced late, so Leclerc nearly ended up shoving him onto the gravel during one particular scrap. It was good to see them going back and forth, though. Lewis Hamilton, he ended up cruising to a bit of a lonely 5th. Max was 6th. Gasly managed to bag 7th for Alpine, which is their first points of this season, while Haas's Esteban Ocon drove like a man possessed from 15th to 8th after binning it in quali. Oliver Bearman managed to come in 10th, which meant that there were 4 Brits finishing in the top 10 for the first time since Azerbaijan and Saudi Arabia last year. And interestingly, before those results, you've got to go all the way back to 1995's Australian Grand Prix, where Damon Hill, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert and Mark Blundell finished in the top 5. Heck.
Damon
Back
Hill's
here,
Scottish.
though, Red Bull's Yuki Tsunoda then managed to stick his car between the Haas's for 9th, which was solid for him, but not spectacular. Now, the engine drama with the FIA, right? At a Bahrain meeting, FIA boss Mohammed Ben Sulayem pitched bringing back those naturally aspirated V10s with sustainable fuels, something that Dave has mentioned on here a few times. Now, Red Bull and Ferrari, they were keen, dreaming of the good old days, aren't we all? But Mercedes, Honda and Audi shut it down like a bit of a bad Tinder date, sweeping right like every woman who's seen my receding hairline, to be honest with you. Hybrids are locked in for next year's rules, and those 3 are all in on batteries staying as part of F1's future. So talks will continue, but don't hold your breath for V10s screaming again anytime soon. There you go. That's your hot lap recap and a bit of news. Piastri's masterclass, Norris's near miss, and Verstappen's snooze fest. Wrapped up quicker than Dave counting how many times he said wiener so far this series. Back to the main show before you two start wrestling over who's going to get to wear that jacket next. Skin, don't trust Dave. He's got sweaty pits.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't be wrestling to wear that jacket anytime soon anyway, don't you worry, Skin.
What do you mean?
It's green and not blue. Green's my favourite colour, but I bleed blue.
Because of Williams.
Yeah, obviously, Skin.
You also have a shit ton of McLaren and Red Bull merch.
Yep. That's fair.
So why not add Aston Martin to the mix?
Listen, I just go with whoever has the best merch, and that's not cutting it so far.
Okay. all right.
Williams also, I mean, that yellow jacket looks sick. Anyway, so on to the Bahrain Grand Prix, which Ryan spoke quite heavily about.
Mm-hmm.
What have you got for me, Skin? Because you have written more questions than I anticipated.
Really?
Yeah.
Dave,
I mean, it was a fucking guru race, but...
Yeah, I'm always preparing for podcasts.
No, I'm with you. It's just sometimes there is a lot more of an obvious route that we're taking, and you've put a lot of things down, and I like it.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I watched the race at 4 a.m, so I was barely awake, and I just wrote down everything that sprung to mind, so it was a bit all over the shop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, lots of different stuff happened.
Yeah.
I suppose the first big obvious talking point was Lando fucking up the start line.
Yep.
The question is, what could have possibly gone wrong? How do you he stopped and then just drove forward?
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
I don't know. He said after the race that he was like, just wasn't, I didn't think I was that far forward, so I thought I could roll forward a bit more.
Right.
But I think he rolls forward. He jolts a little bit. It's quite a lot that he moves. And Max was already looking at him before he moved because he was right on the edge of his line anyway. So I don't know how he messed that up. The only thing I can think of is that he may have just been trying to focus on his start procedure, getting the clutch or the, the power settings on his steering wheel correct, forgotten to keep his foot on the brake, and then it's rolled forward. But then it looks a bit jolty. So then when I saw the replay, I then thought maybe he's trying to find his bite point on the clutch, and he's gone a bit too far. And then it's jolt, like when you're in a manual car and you come off the clutch a bit too quick and it jolts. Mm-hmm. It's done one of them, and then he's saved the clutch, and that's what's moved him forward. But honestly, the way I look at this is Norris is supposed to be the guy at McLaren to win a championship, and small mistakes like this it just shows that he's still on a progression of learning how to become a world champion or how to be Like he's still got an experience gap from where he is to where, say, Max is or Lewis or Fernando. There is still a gap of knowledge or a gap of confidence within himself. And I think a small mistake like this it's quite laughable from the outside. Obviously, it must be very stressful for him.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because he qualified at like 6th, right?
Yep.
So he did quite well to get up to 3rd, and then also had to deal with a 5-second penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't help, does it? The 5-second penalty. He definitely should have got 2nd had that penalty not happened.
Because he's lost to George by like a second or something.
Yeah, he was like at 1.1 or 1.2. I've got it up here, but yeah, he was very, very close to George behind. No, he wasn't even. He was 0.8 off of George.
0.8. Okay, so he definitely should have finished 2nd, had he not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite unfortunate.
It's very disappointing. Let's talk about his qualifying first, though. I've got a couple of things from quali, but Norris's lap was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I wrote it down like this. Can we just talk about Norris being a right mard arse after qualifying?
What's a mard arse?
Like a right mardy little bitch, like a little whiny bitch.
Is mardy a British term that I won't know?
Yeah, it's very British, mardy.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, Aussies. It's great as well that 60% of our listenership are Australian, so that's great from Dis. I don't know. He qualified in 6th. He gets out the car, and I think it was Rachel Brooks was interviewing him in the media pen, and she was like, "What went wrong? Like, what happened?" He's just like, "Oh, just me, just all the," and he's like pointing at himself, going, "All this, like, this is what went wrong." She's like, "Oh, what can you do to come back tomorrow?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'm just gonna go home." And he's just like so fed up. And I think Ryan briefly mentioned it in the hot lap recap. He just seems a bit like defeated this season. It's like if the slightest thing goes wrong, McLaren have to really like get behind him and really just like support him and pick him back up and kind of be like, "It's okay, Lando, you're good. It's okay. You are really good at this." Whereas with Oscar, I just look across to the other garage and Oscar's just like, he was disappointed after Australia with what happened in the race. But even so, he just picks himself up and he goes, "Yeah, well, on to the next one. I still got 2 points there. Let's crack on. Let's keep going." And I just think Oscar's just mentally way better of a driver than Lando is.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. Even after his qualifying, he was like talking about how he expected the race to go. And he was like, "Oh, well, I mean, Oscar's going to lap everyone. So the best I can do is hope for 2nd. It was quite an odd thing to say. You would think you're trying to win the race. That's kind of the point of racing.
It's just the defeated attitude of him when one minor thing goes wrong. It's like he qualified 6th on the Saturday. Great. You get no points on Saturday. Sunday's where you make your points. Like, keep your head up. You've got the fastest car on the grid. And I would look at what happened at the race, finishing P3 with a 5-second penalty. I'm like, fucking oath, that was a good job.
Yeah.
That was a good drive. Like, he looked happy after the race and I'm glad, but just like he needs a bit more optimism when things go wrong. Yeah.
And surely if you're in the fastest car on the grid, a car capable of going from 6th to 3rd with a 5-second grid penalty, then like when something goes wrong in qualifying, why would you feel defeated?
Exactly.
It's like, you can fix it.
Yeah, literally. And Oscar finished 16 seconds ahead of George. So it's like, you've got the car underneath you. You just need to have the mental strength to push forward and to crack on. But I don't know. I think this is going to be a trend over the season. If I'm going to back anyone, I've had a few messages overnight and this morning. Do you think Oscar's got what it takes? If I'm going to back anyone at this point, I don't think Lando is mentally prepared. And I think Oscar will beat him mentally. I just think Oscar has a bit more of a way to go with racecraft experience, qualifying experience, and like things like that. And I think this weekend was a very big weekend for Oscar to kind of show his potential in F1. So I would back Oscar to be world champion for this year. If it's going to be one of them two, I'm backing Oscar to beat Lando.
Oh, I'm just backing Oscar in general.
Yeah.
Big McLaren fan.
Obviously.
I just think it's a no-brainer. Pencil it in now. He's already won.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally sitting 2nd, but apart from that, that's the other thing is why would Lando feel defeated when he's literally leading the championship? Surely you look at that and you're like, oh, things are probably going all right.
Yeah. And also Max was behind him. Yeah. Like Max qualified his 7th and looked horrific in the race. So bizarre. Very bizarre. Do you know what I find interesting about this season? I think everyone, the pundits, any podcast, anyone I'm seeing on social media, everyone is talking about how crucial every race is. And we're 4 or 5 races in at this point, like if you're including the sprint. Like, it's so early in the season and we're already talking about how crucial every point is for the championship. It feels different to other seasons where it's been like beginning of last year, it was like, Max has won. Like, we got 4 races in, it was like, no one bother, Max has won the championship.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, everyone is I don't think anyone believes that McLaren fully have it in the bag.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Same.
All right. What else happened in the race that you noticed?
Qualifying again. Hulkenberg, Alex Albon. I briefly mentioned this to you this morning. We actually got sent a question by Rosie. Oh gosh, skin. How do I say this name? Patricia. How do I say this name? Patricia. Go Skin. See, that's why you're head of reading here at Formula Pools. So Rosie says, Alex got jibbed by the FIA 45 minutes late to pull in Hulk's time. Do you think that that there should be a time limit on how long after a lap that it can be deleted? Or is it better to move up one spot? Or is it better to be moved up one spot? Or would you be disappointed because you could have got more out of Q2? So firstly, just a bit of context for anyone that didn't watch qualifying or doesn't know. Hulk got through to Q2. Alex got eliminated out of Q2. He was in 16th, so I think he was like less than a 10th from going through. And then midway through Q3, or like just after Q3 had started, Hulk's Q1 lap time gets deleted off the board. And whilst the session is running, we see that Alex has been promoted to P15 or P14, whatever it was. And it was like, that makes no sense, because if he went off the track and gained, like if he went too wide and off the track, that should have been deleted there and then. Alex should have competed in Q2 to potentially get through to Q3. So the controversy comes, and Williams are really pissed off about this because Alex, like, let's look at Carlos. Carlos in Q1 just got through into Q2. Like, he had a good lap, but he just got through. Alex was like inches away from getting through to Q2. And Alex has always performed so far this season better in Q2 than he has in Q3. Either he gets more confidence, or with the track being clearer, it's easier to get a solid lap in. Williams might just prefer cleaner air. So we could have competed for Q3. We could have competed for 11th down to 15th. But we had to resign ourselves to 15th, wherever we started with Alex, because the FIA made a mistake. It's nothing to do with Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg, he didn't know that he'd gone over the line. The FIA made a mistake. And I think it's just like really shit that Alex Albon and Williams didn't get the opportunity to fight for a higher position because they made a mistake. And the margins in which he lost out on could have been the difference with Hulkenberg. Like, Hulkenberg going off track, he could have gained that small margin by going off track.
Right. Okay.
So what do you reckon? Should there be a time limit? If a car goes off track, should there be a time limit in which the FIA investigate and penalise? Or should there be a time limit in between each sessions where they have to?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I guess it's tough. That's obviously what I think is, I agree that sucks that they missed out on that opportunity and they shouldn't have, but I don't really know what the solution is. So I assume it was just a mistake, right? So he's gone over the grid line. Mm-hmm. He's gone over the line outside of the race.
Yeah, the track. Thank
you. Why did it take 45 minutes? Do you have any idea?
No, they've not. I don't think they've come out and said. The article I read this morning on it as well, because I wanted to check if they had said anything. There was nothing from the FIA to say why it took so long. So yeah, I have no clue.
That wouldn't be standard procedure. Surely they work that stuff out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, the problem was, if you watch Q3 live, I think it was Lewis and Max, or it might have been Lewis and Sonoda or something like that. It was definitely Lewis. They both got a lap time deleted at the beginning of Q3. And their lap times were deleted within a minute and a half of their first lap time being set. And at the same time as it was like, they were under investigation, and then Hulkenberg's lap was deleted, and then their laps were deleted immediately. It was almost like it was sat pending approval, and then someone's gone, oh shit, we forgot to approve that 45 minutes ago. Let's just do it now.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels very weird, like admin problems, but they're not coming out and saying exactly what it was. Yeah,
right. That is strange. Yeah, I don't know. I would have thought the solution would just be like, because there's a little bit of a break between Q1 and Q2.
Yeah.
There's like a 10-minute break.
5 to 10 minutes, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, surely it's just like before Q2 goes out, it has to be finalised.
Yeah, that's what I would want. In my opinion, though, on her second part, like, would you even want to know? I would rather Hulk's time not be deleted at that point, 40 minutes later. And I'd rather start from 15th, 16th, wherever it was, because I'd rather start where I start and not know that I could have started higher.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like from Alex's point of view, that just hums.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing is like once a mistake like that's been made, it's like I don't know what the alternative is. It's
Yeah.
like you just didn't do a faster time. It's
Yeah.
not like you can start any higher.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Yeah, it's I listened to a podcast on the way in this morning, and they were saying like, you know, someone asked them a question: is there going to be like, can Williams appeal and get something back for it? It's like, what can they do at this point? Like, they're not going to undo the result. Like, they're not going to redo the whole weekend. Like, that's it now. Like, it's shit luck. But it's more that, you know, the teams pay hundreds of millions of dollars to go racing, and the FIA need to do better. Like, shouldn't be like this. Ferrari brought an upgrade this week, and I think it was a good upgrade. I think they looked fairly decent on the medium tires. They're not as quick as McLaren or Mercedes this weekend.
But who is?
Who is? I mean, not Williams either. But I think it was a step in the right direction. I think Bahrain maybe doesn't suit their car as much, and I think maybe Jeddah might be a better one for them this weekend. Hopefully this upgrade continues to be good for them, but they were looking good. I think this weekend's race, look out for Ferrari.
Yeah, they were looking real good. When I can't remember, maybe their second pit stop when they both came back out.
Yeah.
There was like a little period there where Hamilton just overtook everyone.
Everyone.
It was really weird.
Yeah, like literally everyone.
I was like, he's going to fucking win the race. It just like, looked like he was driving a rocket.
He came out of the pits, I was like, oh, they've kind of screwed him there, P11. And then like 5 laps later, I'm like, oh, he's in P6. Okay, well, that's fair. I was like, yeah, okay, well, he's a guru. Yeah, no, very, very, very well done. I think the first 5-6 laps, they were looking real shit on the mediums, and everyone was like, oh, why did they do that? And then the softs just dropped off, and they just went hell for leather and just fucking hammered it. Hulk also got disqualified. This is away from the qualifying thing. Hulk got disqualified from the race, and I only read it 20 minutes before we started doing this podcast. Similar to what we saw with Lewis in China, his plank had worn too thin. I think it was 8.4 mil instead of 9. I just think it's fascinating that we're seeing this more and more since 2021 with the ground effect cars. I think it's fascinating that teams are still pushing the limits on it and are getting caught out and getting DQ'd. You had something interesting to say though about Hulk when I told you the news.
Yeah, well, you were wondering why you hadn't heard about it. It hadn't been such big news 9 hours earlier, the way Hamilton's was a huge deal. And I said I suspect it could be to do with the fact that he finished quite low down the grid.
Yeah. You didn't have to shit on him like that, Skin.
Sorry.
Nah, I love it.
Not his fault. It's a slow car.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's totally fair. Come on. I mean, Audi's going to come in next year and fucking dominate. I mean, who knows? Literally no one knows. The last thing I wrote down, F1 TV director. Shambles again, as in like the live broadcast. We missed so many live overtakes and live moments in that race. They were just replay happy. Like we were watching a fucking Ferrari replay. And as they cut to the replay, we were about to see, I think it was Kimi Antonelli overtaking someone. And it was a guru move. And it was just like, oh yeah, let's not watch that live. Who wants to see on-track action? Let's watch another replay of a pit stop. It was just fucking boring. Like I don't get what they're doing. I wrote down here, I feel like whoever is in charge of it knows nothing about F1.
Right, okay.
So let's start a petition to get Skin to be the F1 TV director.
That's what you want. No, in their defense, a lot of things happened in this race. There was more stuff going on. There was a lap where both Ferraris were overtaking at the same time.
Yes.
And it was like, well, fuck. You can't show both, can you? No,
you can't. I agree with that. But okay, end of the race. We didn't see Oscar cross the line.
That was kind of weird.
That was very weird.
I was listening to the commentators talk about Oscar crossing the line while watching Lando trail behind George by 1 second.
And there was no overtaking opportunities for the rest of that lap. Like Lando had messed his last overtaking opportunity into turn 4. He wasn't going to overtake him for the rest of the lap. So why not cut to Oscar? They didn't.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
It was just very weird. Very weird.
I think it was maybe because Oscar was so far in front that they forgot he was still driving.
That's probably true.
Also, Oscar won by 15 seconds.
Yeah.
when there was a safety car quite late in the race.
He's a weapon.
What the fuck?
This is what we were saying last week, though, with Japan. McLaren should be winning by 15 seconds. That is how much faster their car is. And McLaren holding up Oscar last week so that Lando could keep P2 and not letting Oscar go and attack Max. It's ridiculous. McLaren have by far the fastest car. Oscar proved it. And this is what I'm saying. Oscar made a fucking statement to everyone with that 15-second win. So, yeah, McLaren need to do more because they've got the best car and they will lose the Drivers' Championship if they don't let the faster driver on the day do exactly what Oscar did yesterday.
All right. All right, then every race we like to do a little driver of the day and a biggest letdown type of thing. Just highlight a couple highlights. Highlight a couple highlights.
Yep, I like it.
Highs and lows that we'd like to talk about from the race. Now, obviously there is an actual driver of the day that gets voted on. That is not this.
It was Lewis.
Was it Lewis, was it? That makes sense because he overtook everyone for that little bit.
He was a weapon.
Yeah, that was quite impressive. Anyway, so this is not that. This is Skin and Dave giving their own personal opinions. I wanted to start with Bearman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was quite impressive.
Very
He qualified in 20th. Well, I don't know why he qualified in 20th. I don't know what he did in qualifying that was so bad. But he went from there, went from 20th. It was like in the first lap overtook like
4 or 5 people.
Most people. Yeah.
It was a lot. Did you see his start?
Yeah. His start was unreal. He was just like, oh, I'm just going to, I mean, it was really weird. It just looked so simple. It was like, oh, I'm just going to drive faster than the other cars.
He like goes
right down the middle.
He goes down the left-hand side of like Stroll or someone, and then the cars in front of him just moved, and he just went, all right then. Yeah,
there was like 2 pairs of cars, both separated, just literally just chauffeured him through, like, here you go, Ollie. It was really weird. But anyway, so that was quite cool. And then he ended up obviously overtaking more people and finishing with a point after qualifying in 20th. So that was nice.
Well, for my driver of the day, I didn't list the driver. I just put the Haas pit wall. I also put all the Ferrari mechanics because their double pit stops were unreal. But the Haas pit wall, just even with Ocon as well, like their strategy yesterday, they did things on the fly. They were just unreal. And yeah, Ollie and Ocon were just on form as well. So it was very good race from Haas.
Yep.
Every week on Instagram, we put out like, what do you think is going to happen on the in the race? And every week the Haas chap puts Haas 1-2. One of these days, it's going to fucking happen.
Haas 1-2.
Every week he puts it without fail.
Okay, I don't think that's happening one of these days, but
Skin with strategy like that and Bearman just being an absolute weapon.
All right, okay. Yep, fair enough. And then, in the biggest letdowns, I wrote the Red Bull pit stops. What was going on there? That was a shambles.
God, this was the thing. We were watching a Kimi Antonelli thing. They fucking show a replay of the mechanic from the Red Bull garage holding the light. I don't fucking care about a mechanic holding a light. But yeah, they had traffic light issues on Max's first pit and on Yuki's first pit.
Yep.
I thought after seeing the Max replay, I literally said to my dad, I'm like, why don't they just go grab the lollipop? Like, they have the lollipop in free practice. Like, it's the old system. One side says stop, the other side says go, and someone just twists it.
Yeah.
Go grab that.
That is a foolproof system.
Yeah. But then Yuki's was the exact same problem. And then Max's second pit stop, even slower, couldn't get the front right wheel off. Just deck chaired.
Yeah.
Genuinely Mika's job.
Yeah.
That's a niche joke that if you don't listen to the Chocks Pod, you won't get.
But that's fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, that was quite a letdown. They're normally very good at pit stops and then they weren't. So that was interesting. But also, why were there just like so many technical difficulties throughout the race? So you've got their like light thing, traffic lights, that screwed up. And then something on George's car screwed up and we thought he was coming 20th for a minute there when he was second. And then from then on, there were just like no timings at all.
Yeah. I don't know. The George thing, we see it sometimes, but they normally reset it and it's fine, where a driver will just start dropping down and you're like, oh, but I can see him on track. And then it's just the telemetry sensor or whatever. Right. It just fails and they'll reset it and it's fine. But yeah, George also had further issues where they said you might lose the screen. Like you might not be able to see the screen on your steering wheel towards the end of the race. And it was like, this is a bigger thing. And then we heard other drivers like Lando was being told, only use your DRS when you are absolutely certain you're within a second because you're not going to hear the beep to tell you you're within a second. It was like everyone on the grid was having an issue.
Well, I think that one, I don't know what, but I think that one could have just been if George's timings were off because he was trying to get within a second of George.
Oh, that makes sense.
So
and no one knew
where George was.
Yeah, true.
You've got to be like right on his ass to know you're within a second.
That's true. Okay,
yeah.
That's a good point.
But
yeah, it was
seems
just
like they were and then George pressed the radio, or so he thinks. George reckons he pressed the radio button and turned the DRS on.
How
does that happen?
Oh, if that is true, then there was a way bigger issue on that Mercedes car. If that's not true, then that's the greatest excuse I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Like that is just, yeah.
Very well. If that's not true, George is maybe the best media trained person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's just nailed that post-race interview on the spot. Oh, the DRS. I mean, that was just so weird. I pressed the radio button, but I mean, I gave the time back. I had to hit the brakes. It was really inconvenient for me. It was...
He
fucking nailed it.
He also didn't get a penalty, by the way.
No, I know. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because they saw that he gained like 0.2 seconds, and then into the next braking zone, he lost 0.28. So they're like, oh, we're happy enough that he didn't get an advantage. And then also his statement.
And then you listen to him speak about it. It's like, this poor bloke, he's had a nightmare. Accidentally getting DRS and extra time when he shouldn't have.
Let's give the guy a win. Like, he's had a bad day. Let's just give him the win. Oscar, come on. That's why you're not on screen. That's why George is on screen at the end. Oh, good stuff, Skin. I wrote down Williams as the biggest letdown, strategy-wise. I think our first stint just hummed. I don't know why we set out on the softs for so long. I think we should have at least pitted Alex, like one of our cars, just split the strategy a little bit. It was very obvious that the undercut was super powerful, and it was quite sad to see that our strategy just was nowhere today. So I don't really know what was happening there.
Yeah. Carlos probably should have also considered that strategy where he doesn't drive into the other car. That would have helped. He blamed Yuki. I've not seen enough replays for that. I need to have a look at it again, but he blamed Yuki for it. Out of Williams.
I mean, it definitely could have been his fault. It looked like he turned quite aggressively from the only shot I've seen of it. So,
and then the hole in his car was quite aggressive.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, how the fuck he carried on racing for like 20 odd laps? When they showed it after he retired, I was like, probably should have retired about 20 laps ago. Next up on the calendar, we have Jeddah, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I've listed 3 things to look out for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, just to get you excited. As you're listening to this, free practice is on tonight, and then obviously the race over the weekend. The first thing that I wrote down is high-speed chaos on the street circuit. So there's a lot of high-speed sectors, a lot of high-speed corners. I think it's the fastest circuit in terms of top speeds on the calendar. Cool. Something like that. So yeah, expect some high-speed dramas, some good crashes if we're going to have a crash. And when I say good, I just mean like spectacular looking because they're going to be quite high-speed and go into the barriers, things like that. Second thing was spicy driver drama. I think 21, 22, 21 with Max and Lewis. We saw quite a lot of the whole he brake tested me, Max on Lewis in 21. And then in 22, I think it was Max and Charles were having some really good battles into the last corner, into the first corner for quite a few laps there. And Charles finished like within 0.5 of him by the end of it. So yeah, it seems to always be a track that throws up good battles. And to go to my third point, it's another track where we can overtake. So that also aids that. The DRS zones are quite similar to what we just had in Bahrain, where you've got a DRS going towards the last corner and then another DRS on the main straight. So we could see strategies like what we saw Kimi do quite a lot, where he would throw a dummy move into turn 1, get through turn 1, 2, 3 at Bahrain, and then do an actual move into turn 4. I think Lewis did it a couple of times as well. So expect things like that from Jeddah.
All right, can do.
Well, that wraps up another lap at the Formula Fools podcast. We hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we did. It's now your turn to join us by connecting to join the Fools family. That's what I normally say. By connecting with us on socials and become a fellow fool. Facebook is at Formula Fools. Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok is Formula_Fools.
Beautiful. You can also leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening. Apple, Spotify, ratings would help a great deal. Reviews we can read out on future podcasts. If you leave anything humorous, that would be wonderful.
Stunning. Awesome. Thank you for joining us for another lap at Formula Fools. I've already read that bit. Sorry. Thank you for joining us at Formula Fools, where every turn is a chance for a good laugh. We'll see you next time.